and I manage machine learning and AI products majorly, which means that the products that we build, they are based on the latest cutting edge technologies, and are using services like AWS and the latest machine learning algorithms and so on and so forth. So this and before that, I was at Udan. Udan is India's largest B2B e-commerce startup. I was working as a product analyst there, and there as well, I've worked on problem statements across India, data for all Indian cities. I mean, most of the Indian cities, and there as well, I worked on building products that help increase revenue for the company. I've graduated from IIT Ropar, and yeah, I'm an instructor and mentor at Coding Ninjas. So that's a bit about me. I always like to give this introduction because then people are able to relate more, right? By the way, I come from a mechanical engineering background. I am not from a computer science background, and I faced a bunch of challenges when I transitioned into data science and data analytics, right? So I am happy to answer questions around transitioning or switching careers, switching roles, ascending the ladder, right? All of that as well. With that, let's get started. Yeah, of course, interesting, right? Mechanical. So people expect that the speaker may be coming from a data science background, or either a data science degree or a computer science degree, but that is not true, which is why it is very interesting. Over the last few years, I've been helping companies across OYO, Hyperverge, Udan, and HRS Group solve some of the most challenging problems through data science. And I'm very, very bullish on data science and data analytics as a field, right? Because I feel that the decisions that leaders take, they are right more often than not if they take those decisions through data science and analytics, right? Decisions based on gut are mostly wrong, and this might sound a bit surprising, but decisions based on gut are essentially effectively left to chance. But decisions based on data science and analytics are real decisions, right? That's what I call strategy. That's what I call real decision making, which is why I'm here to help you with understanding the field in general. I uh, might not speak in Hindi because I do understand that most of the people here would be comfortable with English, right? So that is there. Superb energy, perfect, perfect. Uh, Keep the chat flowing, guys. I'm looking forward to your energy as well. Of course, I'm here to increase the energy, but I think your energy will also really make things better. Perfect. So let's see. Let's start with Netflix right now. In the data science process, Power BI is a very key tool. Is a very useful tool, right? In the sense that Power BI helps you with analyzing data and seeing it beautifully in a visualization, right? Now, Excel also does that, by the way, right? And even Python does that. But the thing around Power BI is that it is very, very powerful with visualizations. It provides you some visualizations that other tools may not have, right? And then it's very easy to use. I'm very confident that everyone in this session today can learn Power BI within a couple of days, right? Everyone. When I say learn Power BI, like very, very basic to intermediate, right? From intermediate to advanced, almost till that level. So from the very basic to the to almost the advanced level, right? It's very easy. It is easy. Yes, it is easy, right? Perfect. Very quickly in the chat, which city are you from? Very quickly. 532 people here in the chat. I need 532 answers. Let's test Zoom today, right? Let's crash Zoom, but 530 is very less for that, but let's see. Okay. All right. Bangalore, Hyderabad, Chennai, Navi Mumbai, Ahmedabad, Bihar. Super. All right. Uh, okay. All right. I want to make a chart out of all this data, right? That you are sending me. Um, but I am not a data engineer. So I will not be able to make this data flow from the Zoom chat to the Excel sheet and then bring it to Power BI. So that's something I'll plan for the next session. But today we will talk about Netflix. So let me show you Netflix dataset now. And tell me now, is my screen visible? One second. Yes. Is it visible now? Perfect. Thanks. No more answers required. Thanks a lot. All right. Okay. Let's see. So I have this very, very interesting data set here. And if you see, right, this data set has names of movies and shows. Show, Netflix show, right? Series, TV series, and movies. Now, before I go deeper into the data set, let me tell you one thing. In the data science life cycle, right? In the data science life cycle, what are the steps that are involved? So first, we understand the problem statement, which means we might talk to stakeholders, we might understand the problem, and we might have a we might understand from the stakeholders what is the exact requirement, what am I required to do, right? Next is collecting data, because to solve a problem you need data, and for data to be there you need to collect it first, right? You need collection and fetching of data. This might be related to data scraping from social media websites, for example. What next? We have something known as cleaning data, which is probably the interviewer's favorite interview question, right? Whenever I take interviews of coding, let's say probably data analytics or coding around data in general, right? Cleaning data is my favorite topic, right? It is also the favorite topic of most interviewers. So if I talk about cleaning data, we talk about a bunch of things, right? Can anyone tell me in the chat what is an example of cleaning data? Can you give me an example of cleaning data in the chat very quickly? I'll maybe start, right? I'll give you an example. Duplicates, right? Handling duplicates. Or maybe outliers. Outlier is something I don't want, right? I don't want outliers. Can I clean them? Can I remove them from my data set in order to make sure that my data is cleaner? Can I do that? So I want data that is very, very clean and data that helps me take a more informed decision, right? By the way, models actually actually accept clean data. Models expect that you have clean data, right? Let's see. So I see removing errors, duplicates, uh, maybe missing values. Yes, good point. We have missing values. Null values is also okay. I'll maybe club that, right? Missing and null values both, right? That. What else? Um, what else? Spaces. See, spaces and all is included in this. Extra space. That is fine. No, I need something else. I'm looking for something different. Inconsistent format. Very good point. So I am expecting name of the person, right? Name. But someone is writing 1 2 3 4 there. Or I am expecting mobile number and someone is writing Ashwin there. It doesn't make sense, right? So I want the right data types, which is inconsistent format. That is also cleaning data, right? That is also related to cleaning of data. But one more thing, right? A few more things we can look at here. And believe me, that cleaning data is the most important thing. It is something that really, changes the game for the data analyst. If someone is able to clean data well, that person is a good data analyst. So I measure success of a data analyst by how well that person can clean data. Of course, apart from other things, this is one important skill. Um, Formatting is not this. Okay. Uh, Someone mentioned, I think, I hope that someone mentioned errors because I don't see that here. Someone mentioned errors. Did you see this error any time before this? Like, have you seen this error before? And there's this hashtag value something, this kind of an error, right? And then a bunch of other errors. There's this div by zero error also, right? This kind of error in Excel. How do we remove these errors? So removing errors is also part of data cleaning. All right, let's move forward. Next step is what? Manipulation of data, or maybe transformation. Let's see. Data manipulation. This is the next step. And again, this is supremely important because we want the data to be in a particular format for the data analyst or the data scientist to consume it, right? Or even the machine learning model to consume it. So data needs to be manipulated. You might add a few columns, right? You may combine a few columns, right? For example, I may not need your maths and English marks. I may just need your CGPA, which is a combination of both maths and English marks, right? Or let's just add, let's say I don't want maths, English, and science. I just want the average marks across these three. So can I manipulate data and remove the other columns and just keep this one single column, average, right? All right, what's the next step? We actually analyze the data and look at uh, bringing out information, bringing out insights from the data set, right? Generating insights from the data through data analysis, understanding trends, right? And immediately next step is data visualization, wherein we actually visualize the data, create those beautiful charts and graphs that we are going to create today, right? I will show you some very good visualizations, and that will help you immediately with one glance understand what is the data telling you, what is the data trying to convey to you, what's the story that the data is telling. Which brings me to the last step in the data science process, that is known as data storytelling. And people who are good data storytellers actually succeed as data analysts, because this is something that not everyone can do well, right? You need to learn, right? This is a skill that needs to be acquired. Telling stories from the data, right? Creating a story, making sure that whatever you are conveying to the stakeholders is being conveyed in an effective manner, and you are conveying the most crisp and the most concise manner possible, right? Most crisp insights and in the most concise manner. So this, my friends, here is the data science process, the data science life cycle. And today we are obviously going to focus on these two parts: data analysis, visualization, and even storytelling, right? These three parts. All right. Okay. I need at least 3, 4 more people to monitor the chat because it's buzzing. So it's really shooting. Let's see. Um, let's go into the data science uh, process right here with this data set. Now I'm looking at cleaning the data, manipulating the data, and analyzing it, visualizing it, and then telling a story out of it. So let's try to understand the data set first, right? Explore the data. So first I have the index. This is the index, um, a unique identifier, and then the ID, again a unique identifier for the movie or the show. And then I have title, right? Some of these names would be familiar to you: Taxi Driver, The Exorcist. And then, by the way, we also have a Chota Bheem, right? See, Mighty Little Bheem, Kite Festival. But, anyways, let's move forward. Let's look at the type here: movie, show. These are the two types. If if I filter my data, I'll show you there are only two types of data, right? Movie and show. Perfect. Let's look at the description next. Now, this description is like a short description of the movie, right? A mentally unstable Vietnam War veteran works as a nighttime taxi driver, so on and so forth. So that's a description. And then we have the release year. When was this movie or show released? And then we have age certification. You know this fact, right? There's an age certification for every movie or show, most of them, right? So we have R, PG, TV 14, PG 13, and in some cases we also have missing values, right? Maybe we want to handle this separately. Again, comes in the data cleaning step. Today our focus will be more on data visualization, but just telling you. And then we have the runtime, and obviously this is in minutes. If you see here, 113 minutes, 91 minutes, 94, so on and so forth. Then we have the IMDb ID. Now, IMDb is a company that aggregates data from users and rates movies and shows. So there is this IMDb ID, and then there is a score associated with the movie or show. Right? This is called the IMDb score. And this is the IMDb votes. How many people have voted for this movie? How many people have given a score to this movie, right? And that's the rating that we talk about. And one very interesting thing I will show you now is so this is the data, right? This is the data that we have. Let me now tell you one interesting case. Now, this movie called Chota Bheem, right? Um, some of you might have watched it, uh, which is fine. But I'm saying that there is another movie called uh, let's let's look at I think Inception, right? Inception. Now, Inception has a score of about let's assume, right, 8.3, and Chota Bheem, by the way, has an IMDb score of 9.5. Okay, and what about the votes? Only about 100 people have voted for Chota Bheem, and 10 million people have voted for Inception. Tell me which is a better movie. In the chat, Inception or Chota Bheem? In the chat, Inception or Chota Bheem, which is a better movie? What is the definition of better? Is it score? Is it votes? I don't want to give the answer, but is it both? Right? So, which is a better movie in the chat? Let's see. All right. Lot of Inception. Someone mentioned Chota Bheem? Yeah, someone mentioned. A few people mentioned. Why is that? Tell me, okay, for people who have answered Inception, why is Inception a better movie? Why? Why is the next question? Why is Inception a better movie? It doesn't have a better score. No, but only votes. Will you look at votes only? No, no, no. Let me tell you. If there's a movie here, let's say, let's just assume that Taxi Driver, for example, right? Taxi Driver. Let's say this has a rating of 8.9, but it has votes of this many, 100,000. How will you decipher it now? Which is the better movie? So the point I'm trying to understand here is, do you just look at score or do you look at both? No, but sample space is larger. What does this mean? Samples. I'm not telling you to find anything, right? Yeah, I'm just telling you to answer whether only score is acceptable or both, right? All right. As it has engaged a big audience, more people have voted for Inception with reference to Chota Bheem. Yeah, okay. No, but see, I know that some people might like sci-fi, right? But essentially, the point is that what is the definition? How do I define what is a good movie? Definition of a movie being good. What is the definition of a movie being good? What is a good movie as per you? Now, you might think that why is a data analyst doing this, or why is a scientist doing this? But data science in general, or data analytics in general, also needs to define the metrics, right? It needs to define what actually you want to see. What is the metric you want to track? I, as a data scientist, I always define metrics. I always work on the metrics. So I need to understand what is a good movie, right? So the answer here is obviously I need to look at both. Now tell me, what is a good way to, what is a good field, or let's say some new field that I create a new column. How can I consider both? What is a good combination of score and votes? In the chat, over to you. Okay. What is a good combination of score and votes? Ratio. Ratio is not the best way, because see, let's say if you're asking me to take score by votes, right? Or vice versa. Uh, let's say if the votes is, let's just take this example, right? Let's see what's the answer to your this thing, to your metric. See this kind of a number. Is this useful for me? Can I compare this with anything? It is too small. I don't want this to be. If I create a graph out of this, right? See, if I create a graph, it will be on the zero scale only. It will not even. It will not even be visible. So that is not a good metric for sure. Score by votes is out totally. Not a good metric. Obviously, I can multiply score by 1,000 and then, I mean, 10,000 or something, but that will skew the scale. A lot of other challenges. This may be an okayish metric, but is there a better one? Is there a better metric? Weighted average. Okay, what are the weights you will give? What are the weights? So you are saying A into score, sorry, not one, A into score plus B into votes divided by A plus B. Right? Obviously, that is what you're saying. That is weighted average. Weighted average basically means that you're taking an average but with weights. What is that? Okay. What is the weight? Because people answered, right? Weighted average. But tell me, what is the weight? 50-50. Okay, let's take 50-50. Right? Let's see. So basically then it means that it's like a normal average only. So this plus this divided by 2. Can you tell me anything out of this? Not at all. Why? Because this is on a totally different scale, and this is on a totally different scale. This is on a scale of 1 to 10, and this is on a scale of 1 to infinity, practically, right? Or 1 to 10 million, 100 million, whatever. So this is not a good metric. Average is obviously not a good metric when both the things are not on the same scale. Now tell me, and I've been ignoring all the answers around multiplication. Data points. For example, in this case, I'm able to compare movies against each other. So let's just do this. Let's define a metric called score into votes. Right? Let's just go to the end and define this for all the cases. As you can see, I've just created this. How did I do this? I used a function called flash fill, but today we are not covering Excel. Maybe in a different session I'll talk about it. Today we are talking about Power BI. So let's jump back to Power BI now, and let me see. Let me just bring Power BI into the picture. Let's see. All right. Meanwhile, any questions on this? Feel free to write in the chat. I'll just jump to Power BI. I'll create a blank report here. I hope everyone is able to see my screen. So this is the blank report, right? Power BI blank report. Power BI desktop is free to use. Just give me a second. I'll just share again. So Power BI desktop is free to use. Um, I am connecting my Excel sheet with Power BI, and the data is getting loaded into Power BI. So people using Windows, right? Congratulations, Power BI desktop is free for you. People using MacBooks, you have my sympathies. I was one of them previously, so I do understand the pain. But you can probably use parallel desktop or something to install. All right, so we have this data, right? I hope everyone can see this. Perfect. So we have this data, Netflix, TV shows, and movies, right? The data that we were just seeing. So I've imported everything here, and I'm loading this data into Power BI. Sometimes takes a few seconds. So what we are going to do is, I have loaded data into Power BI. Now I will start creating a report. All the beautiful charts and visualizations that you see here, right? They will actually become, I mean, we will create them now, and you'll be able to see that from the data set how quickly we can derive insights using Power BI. So that way, Power BI is very, very powerful. And I always, when I create visualizations, right, I always start with a very simple question, right? What is the thing I want to achieve? So, for example, I want to start with filtering data. I want to achieve filtering of data, which means that I'll just start with creating a slicer. Right? There's this field called type, whether it is a movie or a show, right? Uh, we saw this. I want to filter for type, movie or show. Let it load. So this is the first filter, movie or show. Perfect. As you can see here, I have this filter. Next, again, before creating any visualization, I always ask a question. What's the question I need to answer through the visualization? So first of all, I want to answer a simple question. In the last 50 years, by the way, I have data for about 50 years, right? So in the last 50 years, um, what is the average rating of movies? What is the average score? So what I will do is, I will create a simple line chart with release year on the x-axis and average IMDb score on the y-axis, right? Not the sum, but the average. Right? This is what it is basically. This is the data from 1953 to 2022. This is the average IMDb score. Is there a particular year that performed the best? Tell me, is there an year that performed the best? Yes. And that year is which one? 1985. Correct. Yes, 1985. Power BI screen is small. Some of us have joined this meeting through mobile. Okay. Let's see. I mean that this is the. I'll try to create larger visualizations in that case. So maybe what we can do is we can always adjust, right? In the um, 1 second, in the values, I can increase the size. I think this should be better. All right. So this chart right here tells me how did movies perform across years, right? Which year is there a particular year that performed better than the others? Next, I also want to see how many movies do I have in each year in my data, right? How many movies do I have from each year? What is the representation across years? For example, in 1950, I might just have one movie, right? Or in 2000, I might have 200 movies. So let's see that. Let's see. So I'm again probably creating a line chart, or let me add within this line chart, right? Let me add a secondary y-axis and this one secondary y-axis, and that is simply the count of ID, because ID is a unique parameter for the movies, right? ID, count of ID. Now, as you can see, just let me show this first. As you can see here, right? This is the count of the movies. What does this tell you? For the initial years, 1953, 54, 56, so on, we have very few movies, 1, 2, 3, 4, so on and so forth. From the 1980s, we actually start to get about 5 to 10 movies. And then after 2000, right, we have a lot of movies. And suddenly after 2016, we have hundreds of movies in our data set. So our data set is inherently skewed. Always call this out, right? Always tell this to stakeholders. Whenever you are analyzing data, make sure if there's any bias in the data, if there's any skewness in the data, always call it out. Always make sure your stakeholders are informed so that it helps them make more informed decisions, right? So keep them informed. All right. So that is obviously that is not a flaw. That's just a bias or a skewness that we have in the data. So let's just add the average score back to this chart. And this is the data. Let's see. Now, this is the average score. This is the count of movies. What else? Is there something else in particular you want to see? Write in the chat if there's any particular chart you want me to create. Any particular, and always start with a question. So for the next chart, the question I'm going to answer right through this chart is how across age certifications, how are my movies distributed? How many movies are there in each age certification? In movies or shows? So age certification is the detail, and how many movies, which means count of ID. Yes, perfect. So how many movies are there in each age certification? So if you see here, 43% are blank. 43% of this age certification is blank. Now in Power BI, there's a very interesting thing, and that is filtering data, right? Filters. As you can see, this filters. Now I can just remove blanks from this, and the chart changes. Now this is a better chart. This is more helpful information for me, because this tells me that okay, TVMA probably has the highest share across age certifications. All right. Now the question that everyone wants me to answer obviously is, which is the best movie and show? So let's just jump to that first. Let's see that. So in order to understand the best movie and show, which one do you want me to take? Score, votes, or score into votes? Right? Best is, as you saw, a combination of both. So which one do you want me to take? Score, votes, or score into votes? Score into votes, obviously. Why did we define this? So the definition of best movie, right? Best movie means score as well as votes. So I want to now create a column chart to see the best score into votes across titles. All right, let's just go to this. Let's see this. Which is the best movie? As per score into votes both. Which is the best movie? It is Inception. Right, as guessed earlier. Not inspection, it is Inception. So see this. This is the best movie. Very good movie. Highly recommend. Next we have Forrest Gump. And then Breaking Bad, Django Unchained, Saving Private Ryan. And then we have a show also. Let's just filter out. Let's just look at movies for once. Right, movies only. Yes, these are the movies. Taxi Driver is also there. And then, but clear winner is Inception. And Chota Bheem is nowhere. As you can see, Chota Bheem is not there, as expected. Nothing against people who like Chota Bheem, but just saying that the score into votes column really helped us get to the best movie. All right. Also, let's look at shows. I'm sure some of you have watched these shows. The winner clearly is Breaking Bad by a huge margin. And then we have Stranger Things, Walking Dead, Black Mirror, House of Cards, Peaky Blinders. Let me just change. Yeah, this is better. So Breaking Bad, Stranger Things, Walking Dead, Black Mirror, House of Cards, Peaky Blinders, Witcher, Money Heist, and so on and so forth. So these are the best movies and shows in my data set across the last 50 years. So let me just add this here, and I'll just rearrange some things. Now, one more filter I want here is the release year. So what I can do is I can add a slicer. Slicers are nothing but filters, right? Slicers are nothing but filters. I'll just add this filter here. And as you can see, now I can probably filter this for specific release years also. Let's say I just want to look at from 1980 till 2022. I can obviously do that very easily and everything gets changed dynamically. All right, let's come back and now let's just add a few aspects to this. I have not used runtime till now. Now, the question I want to answer through the next chart is is there a particular sweet spot? Is there a particular runtime of the movie or show that leads to a better score? Right? That leads to a better score. So let's look at that now. Is there a particular runtime? So I'll use a line chart here. Is there a particular runtime for which the movie performs better? So I'll use the average IMDb score here. As you can see from this chart, a longer movie might be better. Or let's say a movie that has a higher runtime. For example, this movie, right, has 235 hours, about 4 hours long movie, has a very high IMDb score. Now the problem with this is that we might not, and because we might have very less data points, right? For example, we might just have one movie that got a 9 score, and I mean the rating is 9, but then it is 4 hours long, right? It is only one movie and it is 4 hours long. So obviously those kinds of factors also come into play here, which is why it is always better to see this in combination with the data that we have, the kind of data that we have, skewness in the data, right? But other than that, I think again there's a sweet spot, that is this 176 minutes, almost 3 hours. All right, perfect. What else? Now, I'll probably take one suggestion from the audience. Is there a particular question that you want me to answer through the chart? Is there a particular question that you want me to answer through any of these visualizations? Um, okay, ratio. All right, no good suggestions as of now. Let me just uh, pull something on my own in that case. I also want to show description. So what I'll do is I'll add a card for the description. And this is basically the description of the movie. So what I'll do is I'll just decrease the size or maybe even further. Yes. So let us say I suddenly see this chart and I see that, oh, Inception sounds like a very good movie. I'll just click on that and this description is visible to me. And everything else, release year, runtime, everything is visible, right? So what I can do is I can add, so this is called a card visualization. So similar to to this card visualization, I can add other visualization, other cards basically for runtime also, let's say. Right, so I'll add runtime also here. So for example, if I select Inception, I'll be able to see that this is 148 minutes long. All right, perfect. All right, let's see. Just before I move on, I have one thing to share with you. Right, I'll continue with completing this chart, this dashboard report. But just before that, I want to share something with you. Right, I do understand that a lot of you, and I see from the chat also that is the case, a lot of you here have questions around switching careers or entering data analytics, right? And as I've already told you, I was one of those people who was facing this kind of a problem when I was transitioning, right? And I highly recommend you to go for something that has a solid roadmap, or basically creating a solid roadmap in order to get this problem resolved. What this means is basically that you need to ensure that you get the right mentorship and you create a solid roadmap in order to enter data analytics or switch careers or transition, right? Or maybe even just to become a better data scientist or a data analyst. In that case, I definitely recommend you to invest in some kind of a paid program or a boot camp or something, right? That covers all this expert guidance, solid roadmap, right? Creating a very structured roadmap, um, relevant curriculum, that should have a very relevant curriculum, and it should have 24 hours 7, let's say, doubt support, or whatever, right? Good doubt support. And then also the last leg is the placement support. If you are enrolling in a program, also consider the fact that placements are probably the most important part. So is that program or bootcamp providing you with placement support? So that is also extremely important. So I definitely recommend you to invest in this kind of a paid program that helps you build your profile from scratch and covers everything. Nothing gets left out, right? Because sometimes what happens is that maybe expert guidance was not there, or the program was not structured enough, the curriculum was not relevant, or you didn't have placement support. All those problems arise. So maybe, if you want to understand how paid programs can really help you with a uh, career transition or becoming a better data analyst, what Anshika from my team has done here is she has shared a form in the chat, and if you fill this form, you'll get a chance to connect with program experts from Coding Ninjas who will help you with understanding how you can make that shift, how you can make that transition, right? Yes, we just shared the form link here. And before that, we've shared another write up. So I was talking about these paid programs, right? The boot camps. So there are a bunch of them, but I am an instructor. I'm a mentor in one of these programs, and I can personally attest to the benefits of the program that we have here at Coding Ninjas because I myself helped create that. And I do understand that it is one of the most relevant ones in terms of curriculum, in terms of placement support. It's probably the best in the market today, and I definitely implore you to explore this, or I definitely recommend you to explore this. And what you should do next is maybe fill the form, understand how you can make that transition, and also people interested in this job bootcamp that we have, you can also fill the form and see if this is something for you, right? So, and obviously people attending this session, there is a scholarship for them as well. So if you fill this form, you automatically qualify for that scholarship. So you will definitely get a better rate as compared to other people, right? The fees that you will have to pay will be much lesser. And that is also true because I requested the team here at Coding Ninjas for a special discount for people in this session, because there is already a very clear intent from your side to enter data analytics or switch careers, transition, all of that. So I definitely recommend you to do that. And any questions around switching into data analytics or becoming a better data analyst, data scientist, all of that, we will help you with that if you fill the form. So possibly I can give you 10 seconds, 20 seconds, you can fill the form. And yes, obviously there is a certification, very renowned certification, and then lot of other things, placement support, mock interviews, which very few programs provide. And then we cover everything from Excel, SQL, Power BI, Python, statistics, and machine learning. All these 6 topics we cover in extensive detail. And I've seen people from this program, they've really cracked, right? A lot of good companies. All right. I don't want to deviate more from the topic of discussion today. Let's just come back quickly and create one last chart here, and then I'll just make this more beautiful. Let's see. So now I want to understand. Again, I start with a question, right? Now the question here is across, let's say, across release years, across years, what is the best, or let's say, what is the average score into votes, right? How did movies perform in general across release years? So maybe I'll just add a chart. I'll add release year, and I'll simply add score into votes on the y-axis. And this is a better indicator, right? This is, let me just take average of score into votes. Yeah, this is a better indicator of how well movies performed in general. So, for example, in this case, 1976, suddenly top quality movies started coming in, right? And this is also a function of how many movies are there in the data set. Obviously, some movies can affect the scores a lot. So that bias always needs to be kept in mind, right? But that is there. So this is, let's just add it here. And perfect. Now the next step in the process is data storytelling. And for that, what we need is we need to create or we need to improve the look and feel of this chart, of this report. And that's exactly what I'm going to do next. Let's see. Let me just, so I'm just arranging things a bit so that it is visible more clearly. And then we can move to formatting. Perfect. So let's just look at this now. There is something known as, in the visualizations pane, in the format your visual section, there is something known as effects. So what I can do is I always like to create to add visual borders and shadows. Right, so I can simply add a shadow and a visual border here, right? And I want to do this for all my cases, like for most of the visualizations that I have here. So I'll add a shadow and border. It makes the chart look better in my opinion. And obviously you can change colors also. For example, in this case I can change the background color of this to this, for example, and I can change the color of this to this. Maybe again I can add a visual border and shadow. Now if you see, right, if you realize the chart looks a bit better. um and I'll just arrange a bit and then you'll realize why I'm saying this. Let's see. Okay, and these are all the charts that you see in newspapers, articles, social media, right? These kinds of charts, they use tools like Power BI only, and create these charts, and that immediately captures the attention of viewers, and they get engaged with that, and then they start interacting with the post or with or reading that article, whatever, right? And I can also change the transparency here. I can change the transparency, right? And I can add a visual border, shadows, bunch of options here. You can change the effects as per your requirement. And in this case, I have just kept it very simple. Perfect. All right. Now this looks better. I'll just fill in the spaces here so that we can start with the Q&A. All right. I think this looks fine now. Now this is the report we've created in probably only 20 minutes. And this is something that will, that you can create a story out of. This is something that you can show to the stakeholders, to all the people who are actually involved in the decision making process. You can show this to them and you can create a story out of it, that okay, this is the trend, this is the bias that we have in the data, these are the best movies, and we learned that in the past 50 years these kinds of movies perform better, or this kind of runtime makes sure that the movies are performing better, right? And this is the variation, or this is the split of the age certification, all of that. So that ways this kind of visualization really helps in taking a decision. And this data was around Netflix, but typically we have business data. That means how are my products performing, sales, marketing, so all these dashboards, right? Sales dashboard, marketing dashboard, product metrics, product analytics, all of that. And that helps people, or that helps teams take more informed decisions. All right, perfect. With that, I have covered all I wanted to cover for the theoretical part. Now, I just want to mention, before I start with Q&A, I just want to mention one thing, that people having questions around the bootcamp, don't worry, because we will be taking up all your questions after about 5, 6 minutes. I will ensure that there are 10 minutes. Someone from the Coding Ninjas team, some program manager from the team will be here to tell you more about it, and you can ask all your questions at that point. Perfect. So I'll start with questions now. I can see a lot of questions in the chat. um, can you share the data set? Yes, so the data set is visible. I mean, it is available online. You can just search for Netflix data set. You'll find it. Maybe I'll still try to share it here with you. Let me see if I can do that. Perfect. Yes, I am sharing it here with everyone. Let me try to do that. Meanwhile, people who are asking about reaching out and um, about me, maybe I'll probably ask you to reach out to either Coding Ninjas, or you can maybe directly reach out via this link. So this is also my LinkedIn profile. I've shared it here in the chat if you want to reach out. And any questions around like the bootcamp or transitioning, right? I would recommend you to fill the form. So that would be better in that case. And I've just, yeah, we've just posted the form here again. All right. Let me try to share the dataset now. Otherwise, you'll also find it in, I mean, online. So let me see. Okay. Let's see. Yes, I think I will be able to share this. I've shared it here. Yes, I think now you've received it. Just check once. Yeah, everyone should have received it now in the chat. How can I get Power BI access? Do I need to subscribe? No, it is free for Power BI desktop users. So Windows users, Power BI desktop is free. All right. Is Tableau the same to use as Power BI? There are a lot of similarities, but Power BI, as per me, is more widely used, and it has Microsoft functionality as well. Microsoft Suite, basically all integrations, everything, and then also easier to use, basically. So that's why, if you were to ask me, Power BI or Tableau, I would recommend Power BI. But nothing against Tableau. Both of them are very powerful. Both of them are equally good, amazing tools for data analysis, and yeah, you can learn any of them. I missed the starting part. Okay, let me see if all right. Okay, so maybe what you can do is you might want to reach out to the Coding Ninjas team for if you want, like if you want the recording or something. I'm not sure if we do that, but I'll check. Okay, will this work for demand forecast or planning? Yes. So Power BI has a demand forecasting feature also. It has a forecasting feature, right? When you create a linear chart, you can see that. So for example, this is the linear chart. I remember we have this here. Yeah, it comes here. So in this case, for example, I have two lines, but if I have one line, I get this forecast. Yes, see this forecast. If I turn this on, see it is forecasting for the next some data also, next part of the data. So forecasting is a very powerful um, feature or functionality of Power BI. So this helps with that as well. Apart from visualization, how can we use Power BI, and can we use Power BI in finance and AI? Definitely. Across industries, right? You can use Power BI for analyzing data, understanding trends in the data set, anything. Then will we provide any certificate for the webinar participation? Yes, Shreya. We do provide a certificate for the webinar. Can we check, Anshika, do we provide a certificate? Someone, if there's someone from the Coding Ninjas team, if you can answer this, I'm not sure, but I think that is there. Okay, maybe we'll come to that in a bit. Mathematical skill is important for data analyst, yes, but you can learn, right? So basically, to learn data analytics, you just need 10th level mathematics. But then everything outside of that, for example, in the job bootcamp that we have, we teach. So most of the good boot camps that you will see, right, they will teach data analytics from scratch, which means they will not expect you to know a lot of mathematics. The course that we have here also, I teach in the course, so I know that you don't need a lot of advanced mathematical skill. Uh, right. So you can definitely excel even if you start from scratch. Which is why I say that any industry, any field, right, people coming from any background can become very good data analysts or data scientists. Yeah, people wanting to connect with me, I've already shared my LinkedIn here. And yes, you can reach out if there's anything you want to ask or something. And people, please, when you create this dashboard, do tag us, right? When you create this dashboard, do tag Coding Ninja's LinkedIn channel, right? Or Instagram, wherever you are posting. Obviously, you'll post on LinkedIn maybe. And also, if you can, also me, right? On LinkedIn. So just tag whenever you are creating something, and when you're creating a dashboard, right? And it is always better to demonstrate that, to create a profile. So in order to demonstrate that, it is always recommended to either post it on LinkedIn or put that project on your resume. So I think that would be something I always recommend. And whenever you do that, please post us as well. All right. Okay. What's the duration of the course? It is 6 months. Is there a weekend batch? Yes, there are weekend batches. I mean, we do have a lot of flexibility. How to use Python in Power BI? Python in Power BI. So if you see here, right, there is an option there is an option to import. I've not used it myself, but there is an option to integrate this somehow with Python. So you can just explore that. So there should be something here. Maybe you can check. Yeah, this one, Python visual. So you can import something, a visual from Python into Power BI. This one. All right, lot of questions. Uh, Learning only Power BI is helpful to get a job. See, if the job role says Power BI developer or BI developer, then only Power BI will be sufficient. But that is very few, right? Most of the cases you require bunch of other skills like Excel, SQL. So make sure you learn more skills: Power BI, SQL, Excel, at least these three, and then maybe move forward. So I think I would recommend you to learn more skills, which is why I always recommend to join a bootcamp kind of a program, right? Paid program or bootcamp. So that's something I always recommend, because you learn more skills, not only Power BI. Whereas if you do an online course of Power BI, it'll just teach you one skill. Okay, we will go for Python or Power BI, which is relevant. See, depends on your use case. I think both are both are important. Python and Power BI are used for different purposes. Obviously, visualization is there, but I think it is important for you to understand that data analysis. Power BI does not help much with the cleaning and the manipulation part, right? It helps you more with the visualization part. But Python, on the other hand, is extremely powerful for cleaning, manipulation, and even visualization. So overall, Python helps you with more use cases and is hence more desirable for someone to learn, right? When you ask me Python versus Power BI, obviously I would recommend you to learn Python for data analytics. If you want to go for a data science or a data analyst role, I would recommend you to go for Python, because Power BI again just teaches you a small subset of all the skills, but Python is more relevant. All right. Okay. 1 second. I'll just take one last question, then we can